As we have a quorum, I will call to order the Land Clearance Redevelopment Authority of the City of St. Louis for its regularly scheduled meeting held on Wednesday, March 29, 2023, via Zoom. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Jones, absent. Commissioner Spencer,
Present.
Commissioner Anderson. Unmute yourself, Marvin.
Present.
Good afternoon, Marvin.
Hi, Marvin.
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing well. Doing well.
And Chair McBride.
Present.
So you have a quorum with 3 present and 1 absent.
Thank you. Let's take up approval of the minutes for its the February 28, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Spencer,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
Aye.
Motion passes with all voting yes.
Thank you. The next item is election of officers. I understand that we're going to be taking that up at a later meeting. So we'll move on to resolution 23 LCRA 10764, designating.
Actually, Chairman, can we skip to item number 9, resolution 10770?
Oh, do we have guests?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. I apologize. I should have asked. Thank you. Yes, let's take up item number 9, resolution 23 LCRA 10769, approving sale of 927 Laurel Street.
Oh, actually, I miscount there. Is it under general? It's resolution 100, authorizing actions related
What's
to
10770? What's
Yes,
the number?
sir.
Okay, then I will correct myself and let's take up resolution 23 LCRA 10770, ratifying actions relating to Missouri Development Finance Board's tax credit. Looks like that's Rob and Jake.
Jake will be speaking on this one.
Thank you, Jake.
So I'll get us started today. This resolution authorizes activities related to the contribution tax credits anticipated to be obtained from the Missouri Development Finance Board to support Great River Greenway's construction of the Mill Creek Valley portion of the Brookline Greenway. So just to kind of refresh everyone on how this program works, LCRA is the local sponsor for project applications to MDFB. Once those projects are approved, contributions are made to MDFB in the name of that project, and those donors receive a 50% tax credit in return. Those contribution proceeds then flow to LCRA, who disperses them to, in this case, Great River Greenway, as work is completed. So this application funds the construction of the Mill Creek Valley portion of Greenway, which is the 0.8 mile segment that's highlighted in that yellow box on the map in front of you. It extends along Market Street between Compton Avenue in the west and 22nd Street in the east. We have Michelle Bach and Susan Troutman here from GRG to provide some more context for the Brookline as a whole and this segment in particular.
Thank you. Michelle and Sue, if you have any more to add, we appreciate it.
I certainly can. I'm Susan Troutman. I serve as CEO for Great Rivers Greenway. I've got a couple of slides if I thought might be helpful if I can share screen.
Thank you. Can we let Susan share the screen, please?
Right. So, let me get this up. All right. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. Get it to come back up again. All right. So for those of you that are not familiar with us, we are a regional park district encompassing St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County, Missouri. This project is one of 16 greenways and one of the largest projects we've ever taken on. So it's had significant public participation and civic engagement. I'm going to fly really fast. So if you have questions, let me know. You just saw a budget map, but the dark arrows are the dark green lines are the specific areas that are in design. The light green areas are already funded. The project is really focused on equity economic impact. It is an action strategy of Greater St. Louis Inc.'s 2030 jobs plan. We've done an economic development study that shows at least a 2-to-1 return. We have an equity economic impact director who is working side by side with Lance and his staff at SLDC to ensure that we have economic development in equitable ways along the brick line. We are specifically asking for one section, and this is the Mill Creek section, which is all privately funded. The other areas have federal funds in them, and that's the reason for wanting the tax credits. We are building a greenway that was once part of the Mill Creek neighborhood. This is the Sanborn map of the businesses and homes that existed in this area. This is Market Street today, and the funds that we are using will go specifically to, I think that didn't transition for me. There it goes. I wanted you to see what it's going to look like once we're done. So from 22nd Street to Compton is what these credits will be used for. We just opened a section at the MLS Stadium, which depicts the plats and homes. So here you see also an art project by artist Damon Davis. This opened a couple of weeks ago. We've had great support, great involvement by the community. Here are some of the residents who mostly are in their 80s and 90s who got to visit the site before we opened it. It's a 240.
Susan, are those former Mill Creek residents? Is that?
They are, and many of them gave us quotes. So if you visit the site, inside the pillar are quotes from the residents who lived in that neighborhood. And there's also a plinth that shows all the names of the people on those 2 blocks and what their employment was. So this was a very reverent moment for these folks. Some of them had not seen each other in the 60 years since the neighborhood existed. It's a $245 million project. Great Rivers Greenway has invested at this point over $15 million of our own tax dollars. We have 36% of the public grant funds, all federal transportation dollars in place. And well, we just got another gift, philanthropic gift, but we just started the fundraising in the last year or so and believe the tax credits would be very beneficial. I'm gonna stop and then answer any questions, or I can show you more if you're interested. I don't want to take a lot of time.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Troutman on her presentation from the commissioners?
I just had one on the west end of this stretch. I know that there's been some talk with MoDOT about reconfiguring that kind of spaghetti
Yes.
fold. You work with them and coordinated that intersection in a little bit.
Yes. We've been working very, very closely with MoDOT, and we are a partner in the Pell study that they've been doing so that there will be a pedestrian connection from Compton over to Grand. We do have a backup sort of plan, which would take us down Scott Avenue to the Grand Metro link. We've also been working with MoDOT on building a pedestrian bridge between the Foundry and the Armory, so threading those decks of I-64 and coming around to the Grand Metro station. But one way or the other, we'll make that complete connection.
Congratulations on all the financing. We've been hearing about the project for many years, and now we're actually seeing the construction. So
yeah, we're excited.
Congrats. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Staff, do we have any more speakers on this agenda item?
We do not. One thing that I did fail to mention, kind of in the overview of this resolution, the application would be for $2 million in tax credits against $4 million in contributions.
Okay, so that yields $6 million. Is it 12 million project fully funded?
We have 12 million of the 19 right now. And
gotcha.
we're still working on it, but the tax credits would certainly help us move that, close the gap.
Okay, so we're closing the gap. And then Jake, I just want to clarify that this action would not fiscally obligate the LCRA or the city to this project. We're just a conduit, correct?
Correct. We are the pass-through for those contribution funds, and we're also kind of the local eyes on the ground.
Very good.
Progress on the project.
Well, I think it's great. As Commissioner Spencer said, this has been a project we've been hearing about for a lengthy period of time. It's exciting to see it getting closer to fruition. Anything else? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 23 LCRA 10770.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Spencer,
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
and Chair McBride.
Aye,
Motion passes with all voting yes.
outstanding. Good luck, Susan.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Zach, any other items that we're going to take up out of order?
No, that's the only one. I apologize, Chairman. I was looking at old agenda, so that's why I had the wrong numbers there.
No, I'm always happy to accommodate our visitors. Not a problem whatsoever at all. All right, let's take up item Resolution 23 LCRA 10764, designated Preservation Square 1A Landlord LLC and Preservation Square 123 Landlord LLC. Take it away, Zach.
Yes, this resolution is designating Preservation Square 1A Landlord LLC and Preservation Square 123 Landlord or related entity as redeveloper for the Cass Avenue, 14th Street, O'Fallon, Hogan Street redevelopment area. This board has seen this area a few times already. In 2019, the original lighting study and redevelopment plan was passed by this board. And then back in last year, in June 2022, the blighting study and redevelopment plan was updated. And this past March 17th, the ordinance was adopted by the Board of Aldermen and passed. Ordinance 71636 was passed. Within that ordinance, it allows for 15 years of abatement at 75%. The area within these boundaries is being redeveloped into 556 residential units for mixed income. Majority of those will be LIHTC. 470 of them will be new construction. 86 of them will be rehab at a cost of $111 million. We got Ashley Foyle from McCord Barron to answer any questions. And we scored this back in 2019. It scored very well. I think it ranged from 3.75 to 4.25 of several different phases. So we have Ashley here to answer any questions you have also.
Thank you. And how many phases are before us right now?
All these phases are being designated developer today. So,
Okay. Ashley, would you care to expound on any of the items that Zach Wilson brought up?
I think he covered the basic overview, but I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Well, can you tell us where we are in the project
Mhm.
and what the expectations are as to completion, things of that nature?
Sure. So there are 5 different on-site phases. Phase 1 was completed this past fall and is actually fully leased. Phases 2A and 2B are both under construction with completion expected later towards the end of this year. And then it jumps ahead to phase 4 and 5 for the 2 final phases because the 3rd phase is offsite at the Brewery Apartments, so that's not included in this proposal. But phase 4 is scheduled to close and start construction late this year, and then phase 5 would be the last phase and would start construction in late 2024.
Very good. And when do you expect, how long did it take to get fully leased up in the phase of just completed?
The substantial completion for all of the buildings was reached in October, and the buildings were turned over in phases, so we actually were fully leased by the end of the year, by December 31st.
Oh, that's quick. Any questions from the commissioners to Ms. Full?
I have a quick question on the phase 5, and I know there's other people on this call that are interested in this question too. Do you have the LIHTC funding for phase 5, and is that the last phase you're going to be requesting LIHTC funding for this particular project?
We do not have LIHTC for phase 5 yet. We are planning to apply this fall, but tax credits are secured for all the previous phases, including phase 4, scheduled to close later this year.
Okay. And is that a 4% or 9%? Do you know?
We will be applying for 4%, I believe, for phase 5. Brock Armstrong is on and he can confirm if I spoke incorrectly.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any further questions for Ms. Full or Mr. Armstrong? And do we have a financial analysis for this?
They're a little dated, so and they're older models, so we do have a financial, but they're quite old. So I don't want to delve too far into them because I don't want to compare something we do now to something we've done in the past. So.
Understood. I know that we've seen them in the past, and this has been before us a few times. Zach, do you recommend that we go through them at all, or can we just give a verbal overview of those? Just a quick.
Yeah, Jake, is you comfortable giving a verbal overview?
Yeah, of course. So these were modeled by my predecessor. They were kind of done in 3 tranches because there were so many phases and so many units involved. So we basically ran 3 models, each including 2 phases. The scores range from 3.75 to 4.25. The overall value of the incentive is relatively low. We see this a lot with LIHTC properties or income restricted properties that have below market rents and above market operating expenses. And the 10-year benefit number, kind of the top line number for the city, was 180,000, and 10-year benefits to the school is just 80,000. And as you can tell, that's a small drop in the bucket, partially because there's a significant number of units operating at this site generating rent already. So when you're just renovating units, you don't get a net change that's that substantial. I believe our colleagues from McCormick Barron may be able to speak to this, but if I'm remembering correctly, the overall kind of net change in units from the existing O'Fallon Square, Preservation Square, to this newer iteration of that project was maybe not significant at all. I'm not sure if there's any net new units being added. I think they're just significantly increasing the quality of kind of units that are already there.
Very good. Any questions for Jake on in the financial analysis pieces? Zach, anyone else speaking on this matter?
No, sir.
All right. Unless there are any further questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 23 LCRA 10764.
So moved. Request a previous roll.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded with the previous roll requested. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, motion passes and the resolution is approved. Moving on to resolution 23 LCRA 10765. Zach, can you walk us through the Marquette Park scattered sites?
Yes, sir. This is a very exciting project for us. This resolution is declaring the Marquette Park Scattered Site area to be blighted, improving blighting study and redevelopment plan for the Marquette Park Scattered Site area. Within, this is basically 13 parcels in the Gravery Park and Dutchtown neighborhoods, which will be basically, if you add them up, is 1.48 acres. This will create 60 units of LIHTC housing. 6 buildings will be renovated. 5 residential buildings will be built at a cost of $25.9 million. These are units from 1 to 3 bedrooms. We are supporting 10 years of tax abatement at 90%, followed by 5 years at 50%. We have Jess Henry from Rise and Mark Stroker from Rise on the call to answer any questions. We have scored this on our the community scorecard. There's enough from our team to go over that with you. And Jake Nierup followed behind that on the economic scorecard too. So first Andrew Knopp, then Jake, then we'll have the team from Rise speak.
Okay, then Andrew, if you would please give us a community scorecard piece of it.
So I think this is the second time we've done the community benefits scorecard here. So let's like briefly remind us of what this is for. So this is obviously new to us. And the idea is that we score projects first according to what benefit they provide to the community, to just determine if they're even eligible for a tax abatement or a tax incentive, and then what level, or to set a ceiling on that level. So we have 3 tiers that a project can fall into, and this one falls into tier 3. So it's theoretically eligible for up to 25 years of abatement, the first 10 years being 90% and the final 15 years being 50%. That isn't what we're going with today, and this is a slightly unusual project too, and then it's LIHTC, and our policy is generally to give those 15 years of tax abatement, 10 years at 90, 5 years at 50. And then to just kind of lay out the way we're doing these slides, we obviously have the score in a couple places, one showing the tiers on the right, the left side showing all possible categories where you can get points, and then going from most points to least points that this project specifically scored. And then on the right side, I just have bullet points of kind of explaining those points in more detail. What I'm going to do also at the end of going through each of the points is just like briefly kind of summarize basically the community impact of the project in more of a narrative form rather than just like listing off points to you, which is kind of the idea of this anyways. So all right, I'll kind of quickly run through this. Marquette Homes gets 40 points from being a deeply affordable scattered site project. 10 units are going to be affordable at 30% AMI, so it's very deeply affordable. The rest are all affordable at 60% AMI. So 40 points there. The sites are all located within an economic justice index number 2 area, so nearly the highest need area. 20 points from that. All of the scattered sites are within a quarter mile of a bus stop. Most of them are along the highest frequency route, the Grand 70 line, and some of them are even near where future north-south Metrolink stations are proposed. Could have given it more points, but we're giving it 5 points here. The sites that are still buildings are all vacant. There's also some vacant lots, so we're giving it 5 points for vacant building renovation. The buildings that are still there are all built from 1895 to 1925, so they're historic and we're preserving them. 5 points for that. This is good to see too. 8 of the sites are LRA properties, so we're getting some of those properties turned into productive use. 5 points for that. And then all the sites are very close to a number of different commercial corridors, like Grand, Gravois, Chippewa, and Jefferson commercial corridors. So again, 5 points for that category. The total capital investment of just under $26 million gets the project 4 points. And finally, they will be using some outside sources of funds on this project in the form of state and federal historic tax credits. So that's 2 points. In total, it gets 91. You could argue it gets even more, but that's a lot of points. And this project checks a lot of boxes. So the way I would summarize this project is that Marquette Homes is a scattered site development located in an area of high need and opportunity that rehabs historic, vacant, and LRA properties into units that will be deeply affordable and provide residents with good access to transit and the amenities of nearby commercial corridors. So yeah, it's a great project, and we're happy to support it.
Outstanding. Any questions for Mr. Knopp? Okay,
One thing that I'd like to point out, Chairman, the larger buildings that they'll be tackling will be the Melba Theater and the property on Merrimack, who both properties are massive buildings, major issues for the neighborhoods, and that definitely need to be rehabbed. And this is them just tackling those two alone would be a major win for the city.
outstanding, outstanding. All right, NAREP, can you walk us through the economic scorecard, please?
Yeah. So as Andrew and Zach have kind of mentioned here, this project obviously ticks a lot of boxes for us from a policy perspective, which drives a lot of our abatement decisions around affordable housing in particular. This does have a very large number of 3-bedroom units, 27 out of 60, which we are in dire need of those larger affordable units. And a significant portion of the unit mix is extremely affordable at 30% of AMI. So as far as revenues to the city go, the project's anticipated to generate about a little under $50,000 over 15 years, increasing to $95,000 for 20 years for the city, and $103,000 over 15 years, increasing to $243,000 over 20 years to the school district. We have an estimated nominal value of the incentive of $393,000, which is around 1% project costs. Very typical for these affordable deals. Developers' returns are fairly low, both incentivized and without incentives. But these parcels currently generate about $6,300 in annual property tax revenue. We're projecting that to increase to $10,000 to $25,000 as the abatement wears off, and then about $50,000 a year after the abatement. So almost 10 times what they're currently generating.
Outstanding. Any questions for Jake on the financial impact report? All right, thank you, gentlemen. Turning to our representatives from RISE, looks like we have Mr. Henry, Mr. Stoker. Either of you care to add some background to what Zach Wilson provided or any of our financial reports?
Thank you for, first of all, your consideration. I've been relegated to the kitchen here in the office, so I couldn't hear so good, but I think I picked up most of it. I would just like to, let everybody know this represents, I don't know, 5 or 6 years of work. It's a number of application cycles, and it was an evolution of the project profile to where we are now, which I think is the best project profile we've had for this development, and we appreciate the city's cooperation, including the cooperation of CDA in helping to fund it. And I'll let Jess answer any technical questions because I probably would mostly mess those up.
Thank you. And Mr. Henry, do you have anything else to add?
No, just happy to
Miss
answer
Henry,
any questions.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
My apologies. Great. I mean, it looks like a great project, looks like a large project. And as our reported in the community scorecard and the financial impact report, just 2 of the larger pieces of it would be a huge win for the city. So we love to see what RISE is doing and that they're undertaking these larger projects. Just, I trust that you guys have the capacity to handle all that and as you're moving forward in this. And any of the commissioners have questions for Ms. Henry or Mr. Strucker?
I just have one comment. I think it's really important to highlight 3600 South Grand because that had multiple private developers that looked at developing that site. It's a beautiful historic building that used to have a theater behind it. It needs everything. It's poorly constructed in some ways, the way that the basement structure and the parking is laid out. But it's just a great example of how LIHTC and subsidies can help us preserve historic assets. And that is a very visible location that working in the area we drive by almost every day. So very happy that they were able to add that to this LIHTC award and move forward with the construction. And I thank them for their work.
Outstanding. Anyone else? Very good. Well, I think it's a less that we have in-depth, not in-depth questions, less we have questions other than we're excited this project is being finally coming to before us, and that we're looking forward to addressing the properties that need some assistance in that part of the city. So I think it's an exciting project. If there's nothing further, then at this point, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 23 LCRA 10765.
So move using previous rule.
Second,
It's been properly moved and seconded. The previous rule requested. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, motion passes and the resolution is approved. Good luck, Roz. We appreciate it. All right, moving on to Resolution 23 LCRA 10766, authorizing issuance of taxable industrial revenue bonds for 3974 Sarpy Avenue.
Yes, Commissioners, this is the second step of the process. We designate this project, hold on, let me get the right name before I speak on this. Rock Spring School LLC, designate Rock Spring School LLC developer for this site last month. Now this month it's a second resolution to the construction sales tax process. Just a reminder, this project is we're granting 10 years of abatement at 90%, and it will be an office space. We have Mark Spikerman to speak on the revenue bonds, and Rob Preston to speak on the project if you need a refresher.
Thank you. We'll start with Mr. Sparkerman. Mark, if you would just give us the updated piece of where we're at on the taxable industrial revenue bonds.
Sure, thank you. Once again, Mark Spikerman from Gilmore and Bell. As Zach mentioned, this is the second step. This resolution actually approves the bond issuance and the documents that go along with that. That's a $10 million revenue bond. It's payable only from leasehold payments made by the developer. It's not payable from any city or other taxes. And as we do on all these projects, we do require the developer to provide a certification of how they use the sales tax exemption on their project so we can continue to gather data points. And as an aside, we do have a couple of recent data points that came in that we'll report next month.
Oh, always excited to hear that. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Sparkerman on this piece of the project? Mark, thank you much, as always. We appreciate it. Mr. Preston, any new developments, or can you just give us any updates and additional overview, please?
Yeah, nothing new to report on this project. Nothing has changed since our previous presentation.
Thank you. And if you could just give us just a high-level overview, just to refresh the commissioners as to the thrust of the project. I don't believe Mr. Commissioner Anderson was here last month.
Of course, this is an old school building. There on Sarpy, just off the highway, a real eyesore. And this is the first part of what we hope is a multi-parcel development. Take the old school building and adaptively reuse it as office space.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Preston. Any questions for Mr. Sparkerman or Mr. Preston on this resolution? Zach, do we have any other speakers? Or Commissioner Anderson, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. Zach, do we have any speakers on this resolution?
No, sir.
Thank you. Then at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 23 LCRA 10766.
So move previous rule.
thanks, Marvin. Second,
It's been properly moved and seconded with request for previous roll all in stereo. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. Good luck on the project.
Thank you.
Let's move on to 23 LCRA 10767, taxable industrial revenue bonds for 490 North Kings Highway.
This is similar to the one we just spoke on. This resolution is basically, we designate the Flats of Forest Park LLC, redeveloper of this location last month. Now, for the second part of this process, second part of the process is this resolution for taxable industrial revenue bonds. To give you a little snapshot of this project, it's an old commercial building that McPherson and Kings Highway, North Kings Highway, is being renovated with the construction of a new piece on top of the existing building into 144 apartment units. We're granted 10 years of abatement, the first 5 years at 90%. There's a typo on the resolution. The second 5 years is at 75%, not 50%. I'd like to point that out. We got Mark Speicherman to go over the revenue bonds piece, and Rob Preston to speak on behalf of the developer.
Thank you. First of all, Zach, do we need to amend anything with the existing resolution?
I don't think so, because it's in the summary. Let me double check if there's another piece somewhere. I'll lead up to legal. David, should we amend it, or?
It's not substantive because the actual resolution doesn't address that element.
Very good. As long as it's not, then I will proceed. Thank you. Again, we'll take the same order. Mr. Speicherman.
Thank you. Again, as Zach mentioned on this project, just like SARPI, this is the second step in which the resolution before you approves the final bond issuance and documents. This is a $40 million bond, and similar to the previous project, not payable from any tax revenue, payable only from lease payments made by the redeveloper, and they will provide the certification of how the incentive was used, so we can continue to gather data points.
And you have data points to provide us next meeting.
We do. We have 2 projects that came in, and we're completing our analysis now.
All right. I'm so excited. I'm going to ask you twice. Very good. All right, Mr. Preston, if you could give us just a very brief overview and any progress that's occurred on the project.
There has been a little bit of demolition work, I think, in the past month since our last meeting. Just as a quick overview to refresh memories about this. This was the old Reliance Automotive building. The developer is going to adaptively reuse it to be a 144 unit apartment complex with some structured parking in there. It's going to be a market rate apartments, but 10% of the units will be held at 80% AMI. Connection with this as well, the developer is contributing $150,000 to the Kings Highway project via the Board of Public Service.
Right.
Thank you, Zach, also for catching the typo. We'll make a conforming change to the underlying redevelopment agreement.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Preston? Thank you. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 23 LCRA 10767.
So moved, request the previous roll.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded with previous roll requested. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. Good luck on this project as well, Mr. Preston.
Thank you so much.
Moving
Appreciate
on to
everyone's
resolution.
time.
Thank you, Mr. Preston. Didn't mean to speak over you. 23 LCRA 10768. Approval of contract with SCI Engineering, Inc. Mr. Phillips.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioner.
Good afternoon.
So resolution 10768 again is authorizing approval of contract with SCI Engineering and the release of additional funding to perform the final phase of the archaeological work at the former Cronolette Cove site, which is now titled River City Business Development Park. So this is some long outstanding work. If you look at the resolution, gives a little background on the original first 2 phases. field work of the cultural mitigation, the archaeological work was completed in 2011. And since then, SCI has been holding these materials, waiting for the final phase, which was originally, they found a lot more material at that site that was potentially culturally significant than they expected. So the costs were a lot higher. And this predates me, so I'm just kind of repeating that my understanding of the records, but
My recollection is in line with what you've been told, Mr. Phillips.
and but the increased cost was determined to be kind of pushed off and paid for with the sale of the property. And so, and there was long delays with the actual environmental closure with the site, given how dirty it was and back and forth with the state and all of that. But previously, we have closed out all of those parcels, except with the exception of one small parcel we're still trying to get environmental closure on. But the other parcels have been closed out and sold. We are looking to finalize and complete this archaeological work that we agreed to complete with the Historic Preservation Office. Now that we have the sale proceeds from the site. Is a little background, the phase 3, this will include the actual pulling out of the materials that were excavated and identified, preparing them, cleaning them, identifying them, reporting on them, and then finally curating them along with the University of Missouri. So that is the proposed plan for this contract for a not to exceed $195,000.
And what's the source of the funding for that 195,000?
That is from the actual sale of the parcels.
Okay, and so again, that's not coming directly from LCRA proceeds, or?
No, just again, I mean, it's coming from LCRA, but from the sale of the site.
Gotcha.
No
Exactly.
additional funds are being requested. The funds have already been received.
Understood. Any questions for Mr. Phillips on this resolution? No, I recall that yeah, one of the issues that SCI found is that again, as you indicated, the finding of these additional culturally significant items. So I'm glad that we're closing the loop on that, and that they're coordinating with the University of Missouri to properly handle those and curate those. So, and it's finally good to we're getting ever so closely to closing this chapter of the Coke plant. So, I mean, is this going to happen in 2023, guys?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Well, you
No
know,
comment. My advice is not to answer my question. You can if you wish.
It would be great to get a report on when this is done, so we all know when this is closed out, but these things do take time.
Absolutely. Any questions for the commissioners on this resolution? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve resolution LCRA 10768.
So moved using previous rule.
Second.
And properly moved and seconded with previous role requested. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. Good luck closing this out, Mr. Phillips. Moving on to 23 LCRA 10769, approving the sale of 927 Laurel Street. Who is taking this up?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sonetta Wright, and I'm the LRA Operations Manager. Lance Knuckles is on the airplane right now, so I will be presenting this resolution. And the resolution is to approve the sale of 927 Laurel Street to Sheila Paradine, who lives at 931 Laurel Street. It's the little piece of land next to the corner.
Understood.
She offered $100, but based on our pricing methodology, the price is $28.15 per 1 feet, which is 50. So we're countering at $1,407.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Wright?
Ms. Wright, is Is the lot that, it's where the cars parked, I'm assuming, that little strip?
Yeah, just a little strip.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for handling this, Ms. Wright, and deploying our sale mechanism. We appreciate it. If there are no questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve 23 LCRA 10769.
Thank you.
So moved, request for previous roll.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded with previous roll requested. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. Thank you, Ms. Wright.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to open agenda. Do we have anything on open agenda?
No, I just to give you a heads up that we'll be emailing you a packet here for you guys to review. This packet will be going to all projects going to the Board of Aldermen. A little summary of everything we do here. So I'd like to have your feedback. You'll have it by end of the day today. So, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Zach, does that include, primers on tax and any background on specific projects or increases in assessments?
You broke up a couple of times there. Can you repeat that, Reese?
Does the packet, is that like a primer for tax abatement incentives, more like an educational packet? And is there any reference to other projects that may be examples of how tax incentives are used to improve city revenue?
Those packets will be coming later. We have training videos coming here soon. Little educational videos here and packets also coming, but this is basically every project will have this packet. It will have a summary of the work the developer has done in the past, support letters from the developer, track record of the developer, scorecards, those type of items in this packet. So we like to have you guys look it over because we'll include that in the packets moving forward. So
one other question with the market changing, interest rates going up. I know we've passed a lot of projects over the years. It'd be great to see if there's been any connections with some of those developers to see how the projects are moving forward, or if not, and kind of what their status is and how SLDC might be able to assist with facilitation.
yeah,
time right
exactly. As you are more so than anybody else, as interest rates go up, the need for incentives go up too. So we'll definitely delve into that too. So
thank you.
And Zach, is this just a continuation of the process started with Baker Tilly?
This is the kind of end piece of the Baker Tilly process, and also Board Bill 64 was passed while a month or two ago, and this is we had to include some of that information because Board Bill 64 was passed. So
very good. All right, Zach, we look forward to seeing that. Anything else on open agenda?
That's it.
All right, then at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We are adjourned. Thank you all for your time. We appreciate it.